to our liberties right now is here at home. When you think about when the people want to control those who own guns, they say, well, we have to do it to prevent crimes. We have to control the criminals, but we don't want to control the people who happen to own guns honestly and peacefully. Instead of dealing with the problem in the precise manner, the problem of terrorism and the potential terrorists, what we have done now is we have decided to register and control the American people, and that is the wrong way to go. There now is a measure on the books called the Real ID, which is the national ID. And that is going to go into effect, as it looks like, on May 1st, which means if the state does not capitulate and go along and do exactly what the federal government tells us, the individuals, the people from those states that do not go along will not be able to fly on airplanes or will be able to get into a federal building or leave the country. We need to stop this trend. It's much more difficult once this gets entrenched to reverse the trend. In the past, when our civil liberties had been violated during the period of war, whether it was the Civil War, World War I, or World War II, or even in Korea, a lot of it got reversed. But today, because we're told this is going to be perpetual, I am fearful that unless we do truly rise up and say, listen, enough is enough, we want our freedom back. Well, who's going to take care of us? What if we are done in bad times? And what happens if you don't have an income tax? Who will be taking care of us? Don't we need some type of tax for the government to do all these things that they do? Sure, you do, if you want the government to continue to do all the things they're doing. But if you don't want the Congress and the government to do these things, like policing the world and have an empire, and you don't want runaway welfare spending, you don't need the income tax at all. What we need to do is realize that the answers are available to us. They're not strange or different. They're part of our tradition. They're part of our Constitution. It's not like in some countries where they never knew liberty. In this country, we did. We knew what sound money was. We knew what true property rights. Remember the old days when you didn't have to have your property threatened through eminent domain and a few other things? And there was a lot of respect for the Fourth Amendment and the First Amendment, but it's being challenged continuously. But we've at least had the traditions, and we knew what free markets did and how it can produce a prosperity. And we don't have to have the government running the nanny state, because the government produces nothing. The government only can take from one group, pass it on to the other group, and in the process they undermine the production, the productivity of the people. When you have a free society, or when you have freedom for the individual, you release the creative energy and the excitement of going out, working hard, taking care of ourselves and taking care of our families. But we have to assume responsibility for ourselves as well. There have been a lot of good trends in this country. We've had one trend, though, that I did not like ever, and that was the trend toward the national government taking over our public school system. That's not part of the Constitution. But we've had this trend, at least still, it's legal to do homeschooling and private schooling, and that's been a great encouragement to this country. So what we need to do is energize the world, energize this district, and that's why I'm asking you for your help, both in the congressional races as well as the presidential race. We need to energize not only locally but nationally the young people and those who remember a better time. Unbelievably, throughout the country, the young people who had never participated have joined us. And unbelievably, some individuals that are 20 and 30 and 40 years old had never been involved before are now being involved. And others who had been involved, who got disgusted and never saw the changes. We elect one party to do something and they don't do it. Elect the other party to do it and they don't do it for us. And they're frustrated, but they are now being encouraged. So there is truly a revolutionary spirit going on today. And I believe it did originate here. And it has been spreading. So I compliment you for that. And I thank you very much for your participation in that. complex explanation for it, other than the fact that I think freedom is very popular. You know, the great thing about freedom and our Constitution and our traditions is that it brings people together. Because if freedom is for the individual and not for groups, or for individuals to oppress other people, but just to release freedom and give individuals freedom, this means that we don't have to worry about our neighbors. We can be good neighbors without telling our neighbors what to do and without our neighbors telling us what to do. So this means that we come together, and lo and behold, we can come together. We can look different. We can have different attitudes. We can have different reasons why we want to use our freedoms. There's different reasons how we might want to spend our money. We can go to different churches. So all of a sudden, it's inclusive, and we don't have to be competitive. The opposite occurs under socialism and welfarism, because the control of the wealth, the control of the people, the control of the business, the control of the money goes to Washington, D.C., and then all of a sudden the pie starts to shrink, and people have to become more aggressive, trying to manipulate the regulations and manipulate the tax code and manipulate the expenditures and do all these things to try to survive. So then it becomes very divisive. You can get away with it for a long time because the country had been very prosperous, but now we're less prosperous. The economy is turning down. The middle class is hurting. The middle class can get wiped out in inflation, and that is what we're seeking. That is what we're seeing happening right now. But the people are sensing this. The people like you are miles ahead of the people I know in Washington, D.C. They know. They would like to deny the fact of the problems. They'll put their head in the sand. But now, all of a sudden, I've been talking about the economy for months, if not years, and now they're starting to say, oh, the economy is starting to hurt some people out there. What are we going to do? So what did they decide to do last week? The Congress, in their infinite wisdom, said, oh, let's print more money and pass out some checks. And that's going to solve our problem. Well, the House passed the bill. It was $150 billion. The Senate said, oh, that's not enough. And they're working on a Christmas tree, and they're trying to get it up to $200 billion. Well, if they had some money, it might not be all that bad, but they don't have money, so if they're going to further tax somebody, then it's just going to hurt them. Well, they probably won't tax. They'll probably try to borrow. But how much more can we borrow? The foreigners are tired loaning to us because our dollar's going down in value. So what are they going to resort to? Print up the money, and they think they're going to solve the problem of inflation. It makes no sense whatsoever. So the financial markets say, well, the stocks are going down. What we need are low interest rates to help push the stocks up and restore prosperity to Wall Street. Well, it turns out that the only way they can lower interest rates is print more money. So the very problems, the very policies that caused our problems, overspending, overtaxation, and overprinting of money, that's what they're going to do to try to solve the problems. We need to think about sound economic policy. It can be found in sound understanding of what freedom is all about. It is our lives. It is our money. We don't need the government to tell us what to do with our lives. We don't need it to tell us to do what we should do with our money. And we don't need to be telling people around the world how they should run their country either. It is under these conditions that we would restore that I believe true freedom and prosperity could be returned. It sounds scary at times when you look at all the problems, but it really isn't all that bad. If we get our liberties back, if we continue to do the wrong things, not only will we have a recession, it could go into a depression. So it isn't that difficult, and it is going to be very necessary. So I would like to see this enthusiasm carried through. We need a strong vote of endorsement of these policies that we have gotten for so many years here in the 14th District to send a message not only across the state but across this country saying that freedom not only is truly popular, freedom really works. Thank you very much for coming.